casino is pretty good.
There you go. All right, let's talk some football. We're gonna preview every single team in the NFL before the season kicks off over the next few weeks. And we started with the AFC West today. We had Lincoln Kennedy on in the 3 o'clock hour. You want to check that out, SactownSports.com. Now we move to the Denver Broncos. Chad Brown, former all-pro linebacker, current radio host, 104.3 The Fan in Denver. Chad, we appreciate your time. Let me start off with the guy I'm going to start off with. That's Russel Wilson. What are the expectations out there in Denver for Russell?
Well, Russell has raised expectations to a level that I think maybe the Broncos can't achieve here in year one. Tim Patrick, wide receiver for the Broncos, has already been quoted with Super Bowl or bust. So Russell Wilson has raised expectation levels extremely high. I think it may be impossible to meet those expectation levels here in year one because it's more new to the Broncos than just Russell Wilson. Nathaniel Hackett, first-time head coach. All three coordinators, first-time coordinators, offense, defense, and special teams. Excuse me. So there's that time that needs to happen for all those elements to come together. So it's hard to imagine all those coming together in a way that the Broncos achieve what fans here in Bronco land are thinking, a Super Bowl.
When you talk about players, they're supposed to have that delusional confidence. You know what I mean? Russell Wilson should walk in the door going, it's Super Bowl or bust. Is that what the front office is thinking, though, or is this a 2 to 3 year plan that they had in mind when they brought in Russell Wilson?
I think it's a long-term plan. Even past 2 or 3 years, Russell Wilson indicated he wants to finish his career as a Denver Bronco. Again, maybe more player speak, but with Russel Wilson, the wealthiest of all NFL owners, going to be, officially become a Broncos owner on August 9th. There's going to be plenty of money to give Russell Wilson $250 million guaranteed here in the next year or so. So Russell Wilson seems like it's going to be a long-term plan for the Denver Broncos. George Payton has done a great job, new to the GM spot last year, but now here in year two good draft class in a row. I see an opportunity to build up to that level, but again, this year feels a little bit too early.
Chad Brown with us from 104.3 The Fan, Denver, former all-pro linebacker in the NFL. What's the ceiling, Chad, for this wide receiver core?
Well, there's a lot of talk about this wide receiver core, and I think it's more based on the potential than what we've seen as far as production on the field. Cortland Sutton does have a Pro Bowl on his resume, but he still suffered last year after coming back from the ACL a year before. Jerry Jeudy has been a disappointment after being the 15th pick, the highest wide receiver ever drafted in Broncos history.
Yep.
KJ Hamler tore an ACL last year. Tim Patrick, Mr. Reliable, didn't have a single drop in his NFL career. Then last year had a number of drops and really disappeared off the face of the football field the last 6 games of the season. So there's a potential for this wide receiver core to come together. But again, at this point, it's more potential than actual production behind that. And, there's a fresh start for all these guys with Russell Wilson. We'll see if he finds one of these guys and identifies them as his go-to target. How
different is the mood and the atmosphere under Nathaniel Hackett? Because they went from Vic Fangio, who I respect greatly, but he's, as curmudgeonly, old-school NFL guy as you will get, to Nathaniel Hackett, who – this guy brings personality. He does impressions. He likes giving out hugs, cracking jokes out there on the practice field. It seems like they're trying to flip the culture or the atmosphere on its head in Denver with the head coach change.
Well, you took the words right out of my mouth. It's an absolute night and day difference. Vic Fangio, about as uncool of an NFL coach as he's ever been. And Nathaniel Hackett, he taught breakdancing when he was in college. When he was asked to sing his song during hazing at his college, he sang Warren G's Regulate.
Nice. That's a great song. By the way, great song. One of my favorite songs of all time. Love it. Give credit to that.
Right. So shout out to Nathaniel Hackett for being a cool dude. Now we'll see if that cool dude actually, ends up being a good NFL coach. But so far, he has generated a high energy guy. He's a very relational guy. Wants to be friends with the players. When it's about their personal life. That kind of new school coach, I want to love you so you can show me that you trust me kind of thing. So far, everything looks great. But, I think around every NFL training camp this time of year, most teams are very optimistic. So the Broncos wouldn't be alone in that optimistic standpoint.
Chad Brown with us talking Broncos, Cattles, Ramie, Sactown Sports 1140. Let's look at the defense, Chad. your neck of the woods, my friend. Randy Gregory, he started camp on the PUP. How crucial is he going to be to the defensive operation in that pass rush this year?
Well, it's not just Randy Gregory. It's also Bradley Chubb. Bradley Chubb, the fifth pick in the draft 4 or 5 years ago for the Broncos. He had 0 sacks last year. Now, he battled through some injuries. So a lot of credit to him for just showing up and playing week in and week out. But we need a higher level of production from Randy Gregory than what he had in Dallas, a higher level of consistency. Your job is not to play on Sundays. Your job is to play every Sunday.
Yep.
I don't think Randy Gregory's played in more than 12 games in any season of his career. So higher level of consistent availability and a higher level of production for both those guys. Bradley Chubb nicked up a number of times in his career. Randy Gregory with the suspensions and the injury history. So of the positions on the Broncos that maybe have the biggest question mark over them, I've already talked about that wide receiver core being more potential than production. I think you can say that same thing about this edge group with Randy Gregory and Bradley Chubb. Potential is certainly there. It is something to get excited about, but there hasn't been a steady level of production from either one of those guys. And when you look around the rest of the AFC West with Max Crosby and Chandler Jones in Las Vegas, and you look at the Bosa and Mack in Los Angeles, this edge group for the Broncos could actually be the 4th best edge group, despite having a 5th pick in the draft and a $70 million man in Randy Gregory in the AFC West.
And when you talk about that AFC West, maybe the most competitive division in football, and the Broncos finished in the basement last year at 7-10. You said the Super Bowl or bust bar is maybe a little too high to set for this Broncos team. With bringing in Russell Wilson and with the new head coach and Nathaniel Hackett and other changes that they've made there, how much of a jump realistically can this team make in the division and beyond?
My football experience tells me the more question marks you have about a team going into the training camp process, the more likely it is all those questions won't be answered with an affirmative yes. Can Russell recapture some of his best play from Seattle? We certainly hope so. Will Nathaniel Hackett be able to pick up, maybe where he left off as a coordinator and quarterback coach in Green Bay and really move this Broncos offense forward? You hope so. Will this wide receiver group turn possibility into production? You hope so. But there's so many hope-sos around this team. It's hard to say they would, bypass Kansas City as the best team in this division. I can see 10-7, maybe 11-6, maybe possibly a playoff team, but not a deep playoff run here in year one.
Chad, great stuff, man. We appreciate you. Have a good weekend.
All right, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. There
goes Chad Brown, former All-Pro linebacker, also a radio host, 104.3 The Fan in Denver. By the way, next time we have Chad on, we've got to ask him. He breeds snakes.
What?
Yeah, we talked about it earlier in the week with the snake thing, but we didn't have enough time to talk to him about it. But he breeds wild snakes or something, some kind of specific snake.
You're asking for trouble, man. You're asking for trouble. Those aren't meant to be pets. I'm telling you.
He's got it under control. All right, let's do the giveaway before I forget.
They all have it under control until they don't.
You can win a